Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the worship service of the First Unitarian Church of Hobart. My name is Barb Langle, and I participate in the life of the church by serving on the board of trustees, among other things. We are a religious community of people with diverse beliefs and shared values. Our diverse beliefs are expressed in our 6 sources, and our shared values are expressed in our 7 principles. Both can be found online at uua.org. Together, we strive to grow spiritually, build community, and live our values in the world. I have a few announcements. Michelle wanted me to remind you of the 80s Trivia Night this Saturday coming up. We need more teams, more people. You know, I don't see but just 2 men on there. Come on, guys. And then a few people have said, you know, they're not good at that. Well, either am I. And most of the time I won't do what I'm not good at. But I won't get good at it if I don't try it, so I'm doing it. So come on, we really need more people. It'll be fun no matter what, so it's a win-win. A monthly newsletter has started going out. I don't know if any of you have seen it. Ashley, our office administrator, has been doing it. Has just started it. This first one was like a test run. So the first week of every month, first Thursday of every week, every month, if you have anything you want to add, put it in. There'll always be a note from the minister, a note from the president, and any chairman of any ministry can add something. But anybody could go in and add it. There's just a link. You put in, maybe there's a new baby, maybe there's a new dog, or maybe somebody's sick and you want to let everybody know. Or maybe you just took this beautiful picture that you saw and you want someone to see it. It's just for everybody to share your everyday experiences. And the plant sale, as you know, was this last Friday and Saturday. We sold all the plants. And we made over $600. And I want to thank everybody that donated or came in to help, but I especially want to thank our plant goddess, Carrie Cool. I'd say 3/4 of what we had came from Carrie, and she enjoys doing it, and she brings it in. So, and I want to thank Tracy and Michelle. They came in and they cleaned out a lot of the shrubbery and everything by the church, and we sold all the stuff that they brought in. It was wonderful. We had a good time, really good time. I think that's it. Oh, today's service will be a little bit different, so follow your order of service. There'll be different words to the chalice lighting and different words to the doxology with the same, what do you call it, melody. I was thinking lyrics kept going into my brain. I guess that's it. When Pastor Tom cannot be in the pulpit, we invite a guest or a member of our congregation to speak. Today we have Cindy Hesemann, who will be giving our annual flower communion. We are currently streaming our services online. The Joys and Sorrows portion, however, is private, and we will take a break during that time. Other than that, the service will be recorded and will be available for future viewing on Facebook, YouTube, and the church website. Please let your Facebook and Twitter friends know that you're attending worship with hashtag First Unitarian Church, and please silence your devices. Thank you.
So we're going to start with a statement of grace for the flower communion by Reverend Shara Schurer. Some of you may be visiting for the first time today or didn't know about today's flower communion. Though some have come without a flower, some have brought extra flowers. Everyone is welcome, and everyone can partake in this special ritual. Through some miracle, similar to the story of the loaves and fishes, there are always flowers left over at the end of the flower communion. This is the grace of our church community. All may come forward, and all will be served. I will now call the children forward with the baskets of flowers gathered for our ceremony. If you brought a flower but were not able to place it in the basket before the start of service, I invite you to add it to the basket as the children pass by you. And now we will listen to Jeremy as he plays our prelude. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the Spirit of life.
The opening words are going to be "Enter into the Community of Flowers" by Elizabeth M. Strong. Enter with joyful hearts. Enter with reverent thoughts. It has taken long months beneath cold ground for these flowers to prepare their blooming. It has taken each of us long times of growth through sorrow and joy to prepare for our living now. The blooming season is short. The flowers stay only a brief time. We are travelers upon the earth, travelers through all too brief lifetimes. Therefore, let our moments be bountiful. Let us rejoice in our unique colors, aromas, and sounds. Let us celebrate together in love that as we travel away, we take with us the memory of golden hours together among the flowers.
Please stand as you are willing and able and join in singing our opening hymn, number 63, "Spring Has Now Unwrapped the Flowers." And please remain standing through the singing of our doxology.
Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer, and this is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
We do the doxology.
Please join in singing the doxology. I apologize that the music is not on the piano because the piano was in the garden for the previous service.
It's okay.
So here, please join in singing the doxology.
So he means sing loudly.
Yes.
Please be seated. In our worship services each week, we share joys and sorrows with one another, what has been sitting in our hearts, what has been lifting us up, what has been weighing us down. And so I invite you all to share with us, what are your joys or sorrows that you have been carrying with you, that you bring into this space? And when I come to you with the microphone, I would just invite you to rise and to share your name with us so that we know who you are.
I'm going to call Carla forward. She agreed to step in at the last moment and do the story for the child in each of us, and you can use that mic over there. And I'm very grateful to her help for today. The story will come from the Flower Communion from The Lamp in Every Corner, a UU storybook by Janine K. Gromeyer.
In the city of Prague, in the land of Czechoslovakia, in the year 1923, there was a church. But the building did not look like much of a church. It had no bells, no spires, no stained glass windows, had no organ to make beautiful music. It didn't even have a piano. It had no carvings of wood or statues of stone, had no candles or chalices, it had no flowers. The church did have some things. It did have 4 walls and a ceiling and a floor, and a door and a few windows. It had some wooden chairs, but that was all plain and simple. Except the church also had people who came to it every Sunday. It had a minister, and his name was Norbert Chapek. He had been a minister at the plain and simple church for 2 years. Every Sunday, Minister Chapek went to church, and he spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quietly and still in those hard wooden chairs. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they went home. And that was all. No music, no candles, no food, not even coffee. Or donuts. Springtime came to the city of Prague, and Norbert Chapek went out for a stroll. The rains had come, the birds were singing, the flowers were blooming all over the land, and the world was beautiful. Then an idea came to him, simple and clear, plain as day. The next Sunday, he asked all the people in the church to bring a flower or a budding branch or even a twig. Each person was to bring one. What kind? What color? What size? You choose, he said. Each of you choose what you like. So on the next Sunday, which was the first day of summer, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow daisies and red roses. There were white lilies and blue asters, dark-eyed pansies and light green leaves. Pink and purple, orange and gold. There were all these colors and more. Flowers filled all the vases, and the church wasn't so plain and simple anymore. Minister Chapek spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quiet and still in their hard wooden chairs. These flowers are like us, different colors and different shapes and different sizes, each needing different kinds of care, but each beautiful, each important and special in its own way. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they each chose a different flower from the vases before they went home. And that was all. And it was beautiful, plain, and simple as the day. And this is why many of our sibling congregations to this day will enjoy a simply beautiful ritual, bringing a flower and taking a different flower.
Thank you, Carla. The Flower Communion origin story was told so beautifully, and it is a story worth telling and retelling and remembering. So I want to remind us a little bit more about Reverends Maya and Norbert Chapek's lives, in case we don't know, and their contributions to our heritage. And every time I learn a little bit more about them, there's more to know. People's lives are very complex. And so this time when I was going through it, I thought, well, I'll add a little bit more about Norbert and a little bit more about Maya, and I'll tell you why. Norbert Chapek was born in Bohemia, which now we would say is the Czech Republic, in 1870. And as I look at his life story, I would say that he would best be described as a lifelong religious seeker, and I find him very relatable in that sense. Raised in the Catholic Church, the state-sponsored religion of the country, but disillusioned, he left at age 18 because he quested for a larger and wider truth, and for a while, he discovered that in Orthodox Protestantism. While working with his uncle in Vienna, he later said, "There were two possibilities open for me. for I met two young men there. One wanted me to go to a tavern and the other to a Baptist meeting, and I chose the latter way, and I never regretted it, for my eyes and heart were opened at that meeting. Chapik was baptized as a Baptist, and as a Baptist evangelist, he founded churches from Ukraine to Budapest for the following 20 years. But Norbert Chapik eventually was not happy with the Baptist church because his theological inquiries led him to a more liberal understanding of faith. In 1910, he met with a professor and engaged him in theological discussion. After listening to Norbert's views and beliefs, Dr. Masaryk, the great liberal thinker and statesman who would go on to become Czechoslovakia's first president, told Norbert that Norbert was in fact a Unitarian without knowing it, kind of the belief net of his day. From 1914 to 1919, Chapik served Baptist churches in New York and New Jersey. But by 1919, he left the ministry and the Baptist church altogether. Norbert and Maya Chapik had met and married in the United States and had both grown disillusioned with organized religion. However, they had 3 young children that they felt would benefit from a moral spiritual education. Sound familiar, anyone? Which Norbert defined as, quote, an endeavor to awaken the inner forces of the child and teach them how to organize, harmonize, and adapt them to the ever-changing influences which come from outside, unquote. So, every Sunday they packed up their kids and sent them off to a different church and had them report back to their parents when they got home. One day in 1920, the children attended the Unitarian Church of East Orange, New Jersey. And after the children had attended there several times, Norbert and Maya also visited the church and found there, quote, not only clear heads, but warm hearts too, unquote. The Chapiks returned to their home country after World War I as ministers and founded the Unitarian Church of Czechoslovakia with a commission from the American Unitarian Association. With a glowing fervor that carried conviction, Norbert Chapik set about proclaiming his good news in a series of lecture-based services, which were repeated and debated on Tuesday night, Unitarian, and eventually added some hymns to the service. The Chapiks treaded carefully because the majority of members had left the state-sponsored religion when Czechoslovakia had become independent and were wary of any ritual that was reminiscent of the Mass. But at the same time, the Chapiks sought to add a suitable spiritual dimension to the service and devised the Flower Communion, which was celebrated on June the 24th, 1923, 100 years ago, next month. As Norbert Chapik explained in his sermon then, quote, the flowers symbolize the members, each unique and free, joining together in fellowship and accepting each other regardless of their differences, unquote. At the end of the service, each member was to take one flower, just as it comes, without making any distinction where it came from and whom it represents, to confess that we accept each other as brothers and sisters without regard to class, race, or other distinction, acknowledging that everybody as our friend who is human and wants to be good, unquote. Subscribing to no theological system, Norbert Chapik celebrated, quote, the hidden cry for harmony in the infinite for every soul. Every person, he wrote, is an embodiment of God, and in every one of us, God struggles for higher expression. The church's task, he felt, was to place truth above any tradition, spirit above any scripture, freedom above authority, and progress above all reaction. Chapik believed that a truly religious person should have, quote, the ability to have faith and confidence, the ability to hope, the feeling of worship, charity or selfless love, and consciousness. It would be these beliefs and practices that would draw over 3,000 free-thinking Unitarians, Catholics, Protestants, and Jews to his church services in Prague. And it was also what ultimately led to his death less than 20 years later. When the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, they found Dr. Čapek's gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every person to be, as Nazi court records show, quote, too dangerous to the Reich for him to be allowed to live, unquote. He was arrested by the Gestapo for listening to foreign broadcasts and accused of high treason. Dr. Čapek was sent first to Dachau and later Austria, where he was put to death the next year during a Nazi medical experiment. Surviving prisoners tell in glowing words of the magnificence of Čapek's witness to the truths he proclaimed. By what he said and what he was, he fortified and uplifted those among whom he dwelt. As one Catholic priest who was with him bore witness, quote, he achieved his greatest ministry there, among the despairing who lived in the very shadow of death, and without him, we could not have endured, unquote. This gentle man of courage suffered a cruel death, but his message of human hope and decency and inclusion live on through his flower communion, which is widely celebrated in Unitarian Universalist churches everywhere. And because today is Mother's Day, I feel I would be remiss if I did not take the time to acknowledge the contribution of Čapek's wife, Reverend Maya Čapek, because without her, there would be no flower communion celebrated in the United States. For it was Maya Čapek who brought the flower ceremony to the Unitarian Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1940. She was here on a speaking tour. Unfortunately, Maya was unable to return to Prague due to the outbreak of World War II, and it was not until the end of the war that she learned of Norbert's fate. Reverend Maya Čapek served as a minister in New Bedford, Massachusetts for 3 years, and then from 1944 to 1950, she worked for the UN Relief and Rehabilitation Agency, helping displaced persons settled in Yugoslavia, Egypt, and Palestine, and she died December 1st, 1966. In a letter to the American Unitarian Association in 1961 about the flower communion and her husband's motivation for creating it, Maya wrote, quote, my husband's motivation was to stress and to bring about brotherhood and sisterhood. As a symbol, he used flowers because in the name of a flower or flowers, no wars were waged, as was the cross or the chalice. The flowers are used as symbols of the gifts which each person can make to the church and through the church to other persons. Because of the large variety, each person is able to express his individuality. The exchange of flowers means I shall walk without reservation with anyone, regardless of his social status or his former religious affiliation, as long as he is ready and willing to go along in a search of truth and service to man. What we are about to do this morning is not an historical reenactment of something over and done, but an affirmation of our community with the generations, but as an affirmation of our continuity with the generations of struggle for ever-widening liberty. This flower ceremony, lovely though it is not a diversion from ugly reality, but a gentle fierceness which proclaims that in the midst of sinister days, there is always the light of beauty. Or as a painter, Henri Matisse, said, there are always flowers for those who wish to see them. We are here not to recall something that happened, but to remember something that is happening, to remember, to put back together again. And in that remembering, may we put ourselves back together again. Each is a part of the body of this community. Out of many, one. Today we celebrate this ritual of solemnity and joy because when speaking of the flower communion, Maya explained, no two flowers are alike and no two people are alike, yet each has a contribution to make. Each would help to make this world as beautiful as a colorful bouquet. organized and growing into true community. We are ready to serve one another, the nation, and the world. By exchanging flowers, we signify that we are willing, in the spirit of tolerance and patience, to march together in search of the truth, disregarding all that usually divides humankind. As the tropics ask people to bring a flower and celebrate beauty, so shall we. And it is time now for us to share in the flower communion. This year, on this Mother's Day, we are fortunate to have special assistance for this communion. Unlike in years past where we came forward to choose a flower, the children would be passing out flowers to everyone in the pews. I ask that each of you participate in the flower communion quietly and reverently, but with joy in your hearts, and with a sense of how important it is for each of us to address our world and each other with gentle justice and love. As you receive this flower, chosen with love specifically for you, notice particular shape and beauty, and please remember to handle it carefully. It is a gift from nature's bounty brought by someone from this gathering, and therefore deserves your kindest touch. Let us now share in this Unitarian Universalist ritual of oneness and love, and ask their children and their helpers to come forward, and they're going to walk down the aisle, and we will have our flower communion while we listen to Jeremy play. Thank you so much. We're going to take a moment in quiet reflection. Think about this flower or plant that you're holding. Look closely at it. Notice its color, size, shape, texture. Notice if it has a center or focal point from which everything radiates. And then ask yourself where your own center lies. Flowers stretch up toward the life-giving sun. Ask yourself toward what lofty aim does your own spirit aspire? Flowers have roots hugging the earth. Ask yourself, where do you draw your own strength and nourishment? Allow within you to bloom a sense of gratitude to nature, a gratitude for this complex, beautiful gift of nature in your hand, and gratitude for a diversity of which this is a small part. Let's take a moment and pause for a moment of silent reflection. Just as your flower is a single representation of nature's bounty, you and everyone here are representatives of the bounty of this community. Please stand as you are able and briefly express your welcome and appreciation to those around you for their presence in this shared experience this morning. And now we can talk and wave and stand up and take that repressed energy out. Good morning. Good morning. And now please be seated. We're going to close out this ceremony with the flower communion blessing by Thomas Rhodes. Within our hands we hold the resurrection of the world. Transient and imperfect, these blossoms are still gifts of infinite value, like ourselves. Too often we seek permanence and perfection, resisting change, blind to our own shortcomings. We become caught up in petty issues and routine activities of our daily lives. But may these flowers serve as a reminder as they allow themselves to open to the heavens, for despite their imperfections, they still have integrity. And though they are transient, they contain the seeds of transcendence, like ourselves. Let us then also open ourselves to mystery and wonder, fretting not about small mishaps or even, for now, great misfortune. For the resurrection of the world is at our fingertips. The resurrection lies within us. Let us keep a moment of silent appreciation together. Thank you. And now we will do our offering.
Good morning, friends, and happy Mother's Day. Now is the time in our service for our offering. We give to remind ourselves of how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and friendship. We give with the faith that together we have enough. So our offering in this congregation consists of two things: the money in the baskets. Those gifts go to the operation of the church, staff expenses, etc., to keep the lights on and everything. The money that goes into the loose change for social change cups goes to a outside charity. Each month, a mission outside our walls. And this month it is the Hobart Humane Society that we are collecting for. There's more about that in the order of service, about the Hobart Humane Society. And before we begin, I would also like to, I'll do it while we're collecting the money. I have 4 volunteers. Briefly, I'd like to congratulate our community. We collected for our whole lives age-appropriate sexual health and relationship classes during the months of January, February, March. The total collected in those 3 months was $866.73. Yeah. And last month, we collected for the self-injury support group, which is run, we had a service from people from that group, and that self-injury support group is run by our own professional therapist, Ruth Halstead. And last month, we raised $411.18, which is very generous of this community and something we all should be proud of. For your prayers, your presence, your service, and your gifts, we are truly grateful. And this is the gift I'm truly grateful for. We're going to have a post-offering prayer now. Please join me in a time of silent reflection and prayer or meditation, as is your custom, as we listen to these words by Reverend Charles W. Grady. Holy and creative light, teach us to love this earth, our home. Together we live in one small house, even though to us it seems so large, with so many rooms. This quiet star, marbled blue and white, was hanging here and spinning in black space long before we came. Whole families, kingdoms, empires of teeming life arose and passed away before us. Now we are here, not knowing how or why. Slowly we have begun to learn about our house. How delicate, how self-contained, how easily torn apart. Holy it is, this bubble of rock, water, air, not to be consumed, nor smashed like a careless child's toy, but to be cared for and cherished, to be kept clean and livable for all the later tenants in their generations. Teach us to be servants of life, and not prideful masters, for we are caretakers and stewards here with a great responsibility to watch over the house, to savor its beauty, to breathe its air. Eternal One, addressed by the human heart through many names, but never to be encompassed by any name, even the holiest, we would know more of ourselves within this hour. We would find more light, knowing dimly somehow that to be human is precisely to be responsible, to feel shame of suffering shrugged away, to resist the inroads of arrogant wrong from whatever quarter, to struggle against oppression. We would stand up with quiet strength and together plant our tree of justice and truth, our flower of mercy, our stone of understanding, our foundation for peace. May wonder, adventure, curiosity, and humor live in us always. May we search in faith for the green fields beyond the desert of this time and look for the dawn coming over the sea's horizon rim and for the stars beyond the dark. Amen, Ashe, may it be so.
And now our closing words by the apt name Heather Oakes. See what I did there?
Thank you, and my parents actually were not hippies. I'm going to read something that's called Give Thanks for a Bouquet of People by Claire Feingold Thorne, ironic. Let us give thanks for a bouquet of people. We give thanks for children, like tulips and irises. They multiply around us, making the world ever more filled with color, beauty, and new life. May we bless them as they replant themselves even further from us, knowing that they need their own space to grow in. We give thanks for generous friends as constant in bloom as echinacea, and whose gifts lift our bodies and spirits. We give thanks for feisty friends as indomitable as geraniums, and for continuous friends who, like bittersweet and ivy, hold on and never let go, and can never be gotten rid of. For crotchety friends, as prickly as rose bushes, their beauty a secret that is only discovered through careful gardening. For surprising friends, who at first glance seem dour and then blossom into joy as quick as forsythia. For funny friends, silly as snapdragons, and serious friends, complex as chrysanthemums. For comfortable friends, their gentle presence as soothing as a sweet smell of lilacs. For stormy weather friends, who stand by us in hard times, like lily of the valley that cannot be deterred by shadow or shade. For old friends, nodding like sunflowers in the evening time, and young friends coming on fast as flocks. For friends as unpretentious as dogwood, as persistent as pachysandra, as steadfast as azalea, and who, like snowdrops, can be counted on to see you through the winter and remind you that spring always comes. For loving friends who wind around us like wisteria and embrace us despite our blights, wilts, and witherings. And finally, for forget-me-not friends, gone but never forgotten. Their beauty lives on in our memories and our hearts. For this bouquet of people who brighten our lives, each in their own way, we give thanks.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is rake and hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Pulling weeds, picking stones, we are made of dreams and bones. Need a place to call my home, but the town is close at hand. Rainful rain, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain, to my body and my brain, to the music from the land. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
Thank you, Jeremy. As always, beautiful. Please join me now as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Well, thank you all. We could not have done this with all of you, without all of you. Thanks especially to our helpers. Thanks.